Good morning, traders. Today is the 13th of August. This is Brad Matheny. This is the Plan Your Trade video. We are looking at a fairly mild open. I'm going to go down to the shorter term chart here in a bit. And let's first off take a look at the expert growth SPY cycle patterns, which is a proprietary Gann Fibonacci cycle pattern identifier, which I built about 2 years ago. It goes all the way out to 2035. We've got quite a bit of data out here, and we're looking right now at a breakaway pattern in trending mode. So, given the fact that we had the breakaway yesterday and then a breakaway today, I'm going to urge everyone that the SPY could roll, as I mentioned, a bit lower yesterday. I'm going to go down here to 30-minute. And I want you to pay attention to this channeling mode, this flagging mode. We're opening up here right now at about 534. We are defending that middle area. I'll show you again. This is off. We do need to defend this middle area on this chart. You can see these areas that I've highlighted here. In reality, ladies and gentlemen, we need to defend this middle area, basically this 524, 526 area. We need to defend this area right now as critical support. It's very important that we're able to stay above this level. So again, a pullback down into this area would not be uncommon before we attempt to rally further. I think we're going to move up into the 540, 544, 545 area fairly quickly, meaning within the next 5 to 7 trading days. But again, a pullback down here into 528, 529, 530 is not going to be uncommon. We have seen a pretty good move out of this market bottom. We have been staying in fairly solid upward trending here, but the market doesn't just go straight up. We could see a pullback this morning on this breakaway pattern. You can see here this breakaway pattern before we get into the rally mode yesterday or tomorrow, and then we move into a carryover in counter trend mode. So in reality, if I were to give you an idea of what I'm looking at, this is actually a pretty good idea, but it's drawn inappropriately. And what we would be looking at is more so a pullback and then a rally, maybe fairly steep, and then a rally into the end of the day, and then another rally tomorrow, maybe up into this area. And then we get that pullback counter trend mode, which could be like this, and then further rallying into the end of the week. So, give you an idea of where we're at here, it makes very good sense to me that we are going to be looking at a moderate swing this morning, potentially downward, potentially into the 530, maybe 529 area, and then a rally phase in and out of it. Now, the same type of setup here is happening with gold, and I want you to be aware the gold cycle patterns for today is a crush pattern. This is the gold cycle pattern. So if we take a look at gold, gold is pulling down a little bit. Let's go to daily, spread this around. You can see that gold is moving downwards slightly today. I had mentioned how we would likely run into resistance here, and I had mentioned in an earlier video that I thought gold would move in double legs, meaning that we would, and you can see it here, I've actually drawn it on this yellow area right here, a pullback into flagging into a second rally up here to 2550. I think now that we've breached these new all-time highs, we're going to run into some resistance here, guys. And, it does make sense to me that gold would potentially move into this kind of a channel right here, moving a bit sideways, maybe down into this flag set up here to try to coordinate a base. Now remember, we have this flagging set up here in gold showing an A, B, C higher, D coming down here before we get to an E rally phase. And it looks to me like we have a fairly solid upward sloping channel here coming off of these channels here. And I would suspect that this upward sloping flagging type formation is probably going to be a solid definition for the move in gold. In other words, I would strongly suspect that this move here, I'll change it to blue so you can see it. Well, I'll change it to very light cyan. This looks to me like a solid upward flagging formation. And again, it keys into this major resistance level here, which I'll change to a light red. And in my opinion, gold is going to try to stall out in this area, really just roll back down a little bit, maybe down into 2470, 2478, 2480. Find support over here in this area where I've highlighted in this green area, maybe a little higher. I'll drag this maybe a little higher. And this flagging formation is likely then going to resolve back to the upside, targeting this much higher area up here and really be a big expansion from this area higher. So understand that, we're really looking for this 2550, 2560 area to set up. And that's, up in this area where I've highlighted in blue and in all of these other areas. I'm going to get rid of that and use this. This is really our target area. But again, it's going to move in stages. It's not going to go straight up. So you must be prepared for some rollover here, downward rollover, kind of like this. Very important that you understand this type of a downward rollover is very likely as we move into the two legs. The reason being is because we're struggling to get above this rejection area here, which I've highlighted. This is a pretty solid sideways rejection area. And I believe that the struggle to get above this level will result in a pullback basing move that will eventually move higher. So we must be prepared for a bit of a second leg pause here. We're going to pause a bit, get up maybe down in this 2480, 2475 area. Then we'll begin a second leg, in my opinion. And that could come as quickly as, Friday, maybe just it could be very, very quick, but I think that the next big move starts really Friday of this week and maybe into early next week. Remember, take a look at this move here. We're getting into this crush pattern and then a gap potential, and then a pause, and then a breakdown, then an inside breakaway rally. This is where I think the second leg, Friday on the 16th, 19th, 20th, and 21st, I think that really begins the second leg, maybe the 14th here and 15th and 16th, but more so the 16th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. Okay. So let's go back to the SPY cycle patterns and let's go take a look at the Qs. They're all going to be looking fairly similar. We're looking for this rotational trend here. So that's a flag. I'll keep that. Breaking. I'll keep that. This is the actual trending. This is the area where we run into resistance, trying to get above that. Get rid of that. So we're really looking at a flagging type of formation here with this downward trend. And we need to see some real solid breakaway patterns taking place. I'll clean these up later. down here at this area. We do have a lot of resistance up in this area. So understand that ideally getting up into this resistance channel here on the QQQs, that's this area here, and above this flag formation or this gap formation right here are going to be fairly critical. So we're going to probably run into some resistance right in this area, right at the high of the flag. We're at 552.90. We're coming back into the flag area. We could see a little pop in the Qs. Qs have been pushed down considerably. And you can see that we've closed this gap and we're trying to close this gap. Once we do close the gap, we're going to move up in the 568, 570, 572 area probably pretty quickly. And that's more so going to be next week. I think we're really going to just, like I said, kind of flag out a little bit for a day or two, consolidate, maybe into a melt up trend. I mean, you can see the type of shape that's setting up here, kind of into a flagging formation here, an ascending flagging formation, fairly tight, but we could melt up into this channel. We do have to get above this 554.35. We're not quite above this level yet, but it's going to, in my opinion, continue to melt upward. I think the real shakeup over the last couple of weeks has been the fact that the global markets are really starting to feel pressure. And it's more so pressure from the US dollar. So we're going to come in here, IWM. Okay, daily. We broke out of that channel yesterday on some real weakness. We've broken below the initial defense level here. We got to see if we can hold above this 203 30 area. Kind of critical that we hold above this level, really, if you think about it from Fibonacci price theory. If we get down below this level here, really, we could become very weak at this point. And ultimately, if we look, a fallout below this level will likely target this lower channel here, 198, and then maybe come down into this area. Let me see where we've got other support. Rejection, 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 rejection. Yeah, so secondary support would be right in this area. So again, we're running across this real support bounce. It's almost like a dead cat bounce right here. And what we're really looking for is the channeling to continue to revert. Now, a pause here in IWM, Russell 2000. I still believe that the Russell and the innovative sector is going to probably be a very good winner over the next year or two. But remember, we've got to get through this consolidation. And if you take a look at this from a weekly standpoint, you'll see that the IWM is, wow, look at all these. Okay. I was probably drawing something, talking to you guys about a move or a breakout or something, because I got vertical lines and all kinds of stuff way back here. So we're looking for a bigger move. You can see here 2021's rally. You see the big pullback through 2022, and then you can see we've rolled into kind of a false breakout over here, back down into these levels here. In reality, we're kind of looking at a upward channeling mode that's coming across, well, was coming across kind of this area. Now it's coming across these deeper lows back here. And again, if we were to just take the basic channel, move it up here to the upside, there's our basic upward channel right now. And what we're really looking at here is, if we're going to hold this level and not try to come down, we're going to try to build some support, probably across this 202, 202, maybe 201 and a half, and then really start to move back up out of it. And I think that's a likelihood into September. We may just flush around a little bit here. Remember, we are after this washout, this little high, we're kind of moving into a flag, is what I feel is taking place. We've got good base support here. We could move into some sort of flagging. I've drawn a number of flags here, but we could move into some sort of a flagging formation out like this, where price moves up, bases moves up, comes down, moves up again. So we've got the high here, A, B, C, D, E, moving into an uptrend. And that seems very logical as we try to shake out some of this rotation. Okay, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin weekly, there's my flagging formation. We're just outside these lows. We've retested this support, very conservative, low support here. Yes, we've established a new low. Yes, we're lower highs. So technically, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a Fibonacci downtrend. We can come across these highs and basically pull these here. I do believe this is a pullback in a bullish trending mode. Visual order, bring to front. And I do believe, as I mentioned to you, we are going to move into a more solid rally phase with Bitcoin. You can see my moderate flagging phase set up in here. I had suggested earlier we may do this. Doesn't look valid anymore. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. And what we're looking at here, folks, is again this potential upward flagging formation setting up, assuming that Bitcoin is able to rally out of this. So, this could end up being, let me do these with lines, could end up being a bit more defined in structure. And get rid of that. And I will just kind of throw this out here. And you could argue that, Bitcoin has set up a good double bottom right over in this area, a good double bottoming setup. At least I can argue that. There obviously are people that disagree with me. And we come back up and retraced around the 50% area right here, which is going to be a critical ceiling for Bitcoin trying to get above. And we are trying to hold above these middle Fibonacci levels, which really, again, well, I mean, I could do them for real with a Fibonacci system here. So let's come off of rejection and off of rejection. And there we go. There's our 50% level. And there's our 382 level. So you can see we're trying to hold right above these levels, which is good. And that's going to give us an indication that as long as we can hold above these 382 and 50% level, we could then rally back out of it into an upward channel phase. The next phase of this rally is really going to be up here and then a pause, potentially, maybe even a little higher. So let me draw it. So we could see this move up into this area and then a pause and then another rally up on out. So I think that we're really looking at a pause in the markets, generally just a pause in the markets. Okay, what else should we look at? Well, people have been asking about Nvidia. Nvidia broke out of the channel yesterday. Look at this big move to the upside. We're down here. Let's see, we're 111 now. We're up into this upper area. Good move for Nvidia. Really potentially moving into this recovery phase here. You can see how I highlighted this base, how we may churn around a little bit, but we've broken out of this blue channel. I'm going to get rid of these previous drawings. And this basing area solidified very cleanly. Rejection, rejection, breaking out of the blue channel, which is a tighter inner channel. Now we're about ready to break out of the outer channel, which is essentially a standard deviation channel. And I think we're going to be likely trying to move back up into this area here, 516.75, then eventually up into 522.23, roughly, sorry, 122, 123. This would be the 116.70 area, 117 area. And that's, again, about a 7%, 6.5% rally for NVIDIA. We're basing very strongly, trying to break out of this. Although the volatility here, you can see when we get up into this upper range, we can get a pullback. So again, be cautious. If I were to draw my Fibonacci levels, I would go off of this deep low rejection up to probably, well, we got to see where we're at today. So let's just go to yesterday's high. And that puts the support level, the Fibonacci levels here and here. So these are the areas that we would likely need to defend for NVIDIA attempting to try to hold this bullish trend. As long as we stay above pretty much 103.50, we are holding up okay. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for today. So we're going to be looking for a potential pause today. In reality, this move, this gap move, breakaway move right here could be a general pause. We will see how it plays out. Could very well be a pretty solid breakaway moving higher up into this area. But I am expecting the markets to try to pause here before we move much higher. That means that you guys need to be prepared for, a bit of sideways consolidation over the next 4 or 5 days. And that's really what it comes down to. Markets don't just go straight up. They never do. And if they do, count your lucky stars, grab your profits, and prepare for a sideways market trend. Because if the markets ever do go straight up repetitively, I'm telling you, you got lucky. And I hope you're on the right side of it. But pull your profits and get ready for a market pause. They never really go straight up for very long. Okay, that's it. Talk to you later.